Well, I can't do roll call if she doesn't. Oh,
You can roll call her in.
Yeah, you can roll call in when she joins.
okay,
So
okay.
she's joining late, you go ahead and do Todd's report.
Todd's not giving a report.
Oh,
He said he doesn't have a report for me today.
Maybe he could think of one.
Then why don't you tell him that?
Oh, he's not. Oh,
Better
Todd.
come up with a report quick.
We need to stall.
Oh, I gotta, yeah,
You know
I
what?
gotta.
Does it matter if we start a few minutes late? It doesn't matter. if we
Yeah,
start.
I'll ramble if you need me to.
I'm gonna just say she joined at 6:03 or 6:05
Okay.
or whatever.
All
We
right,
can say she's now, she's going to join us and now she's joining.
okay.
That's it.
All right, can we call this meeting to order? And
I'd be happy to.
we'll go ahead and open with prayer.
Thank you, Father, for this season of spring, warm weather, plants growing. Thank you for the freedom, the ability to gather in the wonderful country and the wonderful county in which we live. Thank you for your love and your forgiveness. Please guide and direct our decisions and our discussion this evening.
And the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to go ahead and do roll call vote. Bethany's going to be joining us here shortly on the screen.
Counselor Steele? Nicole? Counselor Light?
Here.
Counselor
Here.
Counselor Keller?
Are you going to try to get on Teams, right? Okay, yeah, so go ahead and do your roll call.
Vice President Green?
Here?
Present. Okay, has everybody had an opportunity to look over the minutes from the March 10th meeting?
Yes.
Any questions, any comments? If not, could I have a motion for approval, please?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, Councilwoman can't talk, Grabowski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Likens, all in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye, yes, okay. The agenda today, I do have one small change, that was supposed to be on here and it wasn't, and it's just something that, Linda Smith needs to bring to us, for the, setting the, cost for what we're paying our workers for the polls and so forth. So I'm gonna do that under new business, for her. So if there's no other questions about the agenda, can I have a motion to approve? Okay, Councilman Steele, a second?
Second.
Councilman Green. Dr. Green. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I don't have any comments, and the auditor said he doesn't have a report. Are you coming, Bethany? Okay. Under old business, I wanted to just mention that we have an executive meeting coming up with the Reedy Group. I've emailed you guys. It's April 29th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Commissioner's Room over here. I did get an email from them today, and they said they will email me the presentation by the end of next Friday. And once I get that, I will forward that on to you guys, so you'll have the weekend and a couple days to digest all that information. I did hear from most everybody that they could be there. I didn't hear from you, Mr. Culp. You'll be there? And then I hadn't heard from Bethany, and I don't know if she's still on or not.
I will be appearing by
And
phone.
yes, and the attorney will be appearing by phone.
They've got closing that morning, so I can't make it over, but I'll call Jody's phone or somebody's and you just let me listen in.
Okay. Thank you.
You guys have any questions about that?
Thank you for setting that up.
Yes, I'm excited to get that information. New business. Okay, so get my appointment sheet out here. There she is.
Can you hear us, Bethany?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear us?
Alright, sorry for the delay.
Can you hear us, Bethany?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
The only thing that I went over that I wanted to make sure you heard is that we have our executive session with Reedy Group on April 29th from 1 to 4. Will you be able to make that, Bethany?
I don't know yet.
Okay. All right, so we are up to committee appointments. Okay, so we have three that I wanted to talk about tonight. One is the Personnel Committee, one is the County Economic Development, and one is the Parks Board. The County Economic Development currently has Rob on it, and it needs to have two. I talked with Mr. Sparks, and he said that normally they don't do a whole lot, but they do see some things coming down the pipeline that he would like to have two members on that board. So I would love for somebody else on the council that would be willing to serve in that position. Anybody? Okay,
What time are the meetings at?
I have no idea.
Okay, variable.
It varies. Okay, so Dr. Green said he would do that. Do we need to vote on that?
No.
No, okay. I didn't think so. I just want to make sure. Okay, so that takes care of the economic development. The Personnel Committee. The only reason that I want to institute that is if we ever do a hiring freeze. It's something that we've discussed. We've not agreed to that yet at this point, but in the case in the future, we would need to have the Personnel Committee reestablished. And it's not the one that you and I are on currently. It's the old one that we used to have. And then there would be a requirement for, if there was a hiring freeze for anybody that needed to do hiring somebody during that time period that's not in one of the exempt places that we said was exempt from the hiring freeze, they would need to appear before the Personnel Committee. They would have to have, not a unanimous, but two out of three people would have to agree to pass it on to the council. That meeting would be the week before the council meeting. And then if it was agreed upon by two of the three members, then it would be brought before the council the following week to have a vote of the council. That way, it's a weeding out process for us to be able to do that without having it just have to be constantly at the councils. So, any discussion about that? Now, I know Diana and I have served on it. I think, Rob, have you served on the Personnel Committee in the past? Years ago?
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
As long as it doesn't conflict with this existing.
No, it would. What, you mean the one we're on now?
Right.
That we haven't met?
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, that one? Yeah, okay, so I got Diana,
I would also be willing.
okay, and Christy. And I need one more. Okay, Jonathan. All right, so I have Diana, Christy, and Jonathan that have agreed to fill those positions if and when that needs to be done. Yes, thank you very much for
Thank
being
you.
willing to do that. Okay, the last one is the Parks Board. I've learned a lot of new information today about the Park Board appointment. The person that's currently in there is Nancy Anderson. She was originally elected 2 years ago for a 2-year term. The reason it was a 2-year term is because they were just instituting the board at that time. So now whoever gets appointed to this position, now it'll be a 4-year term going forth. We just learned today that it has to be, how do I say this? Either a Democrat or Republican, depending on what our other appointment was. Our other appointment is Tom Bannon, who happens to be a Republican. Nancy is the Democrat that we have on there. So anybody that would be appointed to that position would need to be a Democrat. I've talked to Nancy. I sent you Nancy's resume. Some of the other conversation that we had with that is that it should be somebody that has some knowledge of parks or that type of the word I want, that type of thing, parks.
Interest.
Interest, yes,
um,
thank you.
Experience in the
Yes.
resume.
And there is. I just highlighted Nancy, I asked Nancy to be here tonight. She could not, she had another commitment. But I do have her resume. Like I said, I sent it to you. A couple things I highlighted, that she was on the Indiana Urban Forest Council. She was on the City of Anderson Tree Commission, the City of Anderson Park Board, the Town of Edgewood Tree Board, and also the Indiana Arborist Association Board. My desire was for us, I'd like to have the council to have the ability to be able to, when we do an appointment like this, to always have the opportunity to see if there's somebody that we know that might be good in that position that would want to serve. In the past, it's always just been, here's your appointments, appoint these. And so I've been trying to give us a little more autonomy, I guess is maybe the word, in some of these aspects, to be able to at least open it up for other people to, that we might know that might be really good to serve on those boards as well. So, and I just found out today that it has to be a Democrat, because that's what she is. So we can, I need to know from you guys if we want to,
I would like to make a motion to
Okay.
table it till next month so we
I'll
can,
second that motion.
so that we can have time, since we know now, we just found out today that, and we talked in February about trying to do a better job of getting this information out there to people if they're interested in it. I mean, obviously, Nancy's more than qualified for it, but just to be able to open it up to see if there's anyone else who would be interested to serve.
that would also give Nancy an opportunity to come to the council meeting. I know she was hoping to be able to be here and then she wasn't able to, so. So we have a motion and we have a second on the table.
If I could, sorry
Yes,
to
please.
interrupt.
No.
Just a little bit ago, Mr. Graham did send me the ordinance that adopted the Parks Board. And it specifically says in there that your two appointments, one has to be a Republican, one has to be a Democrat.
Yeah.
So the state statute says the 5 members have to be 3 and 2, one way or the other. But the ordinance specifically says you appoint one Republican and one Democrat. And I know that going back to getting more interest in these, I don't know if this has been a habit before, but a lot of municipalities have gone to advertising or posting board applications or board vacancies, whether it's on a Facebook or what the county's website is, and say, hey, you know, commissioners are going to appoint these next 3 boards, and the council's going to have these many appointments coming up. If you have any interest, it'll just be a little 1-page application. Why are you interested in it? What's your experience? That might be something to look at. And that way you're opening it up to the whole public rather than just people that you might know.
Yeah, I like that idea.
That's even better. Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor to table this till next month. If we did that, then we would give us an opportunity to, I mean, maybe we need to talk tonight about if that's something we want to do, is have the application process. Thoughts on that?
Is Nancy willing to be reappointed?
She is, I've talked to Nancy.
Might be a bit quick to try and get that done
Okay.
within
Yeah,
30
that would be,
days.
Okay.
like, I feel like that sounds like a great thing to be planning for.
Yes.
But as it relates to the particular
current
position,
one.
I'd be inclined to just
So you
explore.
probably won't have any appointments until early next year, but that'll give you plenty of time to look at other applications that other municipalities do and say, yeah, this is what we kind of like, and maybe have a link on the county website to that.
And I had some conversation with Todd too, because I think in the past, what's happened is we just never know what we're supposed to be appointing and what we're not appointing. This hasn't been kept up. I went through it and I think I've got everybody caught up except for one gentleman on the Ingalls Economic Development Commission that I need to try to, that one's way overdue. But Todd has agreed that the auditor's office could keep a record of this for us. And then we had some conversation about come either January or maybe, Christy mentioned maybe even in November, we would get the list of what ones need to be reappointed or redone so that we have some time to digest that and come to the council. And then in February, we would say in February, we're going to vote on these positions to be able to either make new appointments or the same appointments or whatever. It just
That's a good
streamlines the
idea.
process better, makes it more open to the public to be able to engage in those boards.
Yeah, and if you know in November which positions you're going to be appointing, you can post those, give people the opportunity to look at them, fill out applications, ask questions, that type of thing.
And
So-
like you
Mr. Cutter, please use the mic.
Oh, sorry.
And like you said, Jody, because she wanted to come talk to the council, right? She could come next
Yeah.
month to talk to us.
Well, I haven't
so-
asked her about next month, but
Yeah.
I gave her a week's notice about coming to talk to the council, and it was just not enough time.
I think it'd be great that we would be able to get to talk to her a little bit more time. I know back in February, we all pretty much agreed that it would be a good thing to give more time. Serving in that capacity.
So like I said, we have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion on this? Okay, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Colt? Counselor Liken?
Abstain.
Kowski?
Yes.
Keller? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so that will be on our agenda for next month. All right, moving on. Linda.
Good evening, County Clerk Linda Smith. And what I have been able to speak with Council President Norick about is the council needs to set the rate, hourly rate, and the per diem for the absentee voter board. So there has been some confusion on the pay for election workers. And so we were encouraged to take a class, both the auditor and the clerk or our elections people. And so when we did, we saw that the State Board of Accounts would like to see from the minutes where the per diems or rates have been established. Absentee voter board is to be approved by the county council, and poll workers for election day is to be approved by the county commissioners, which I did at their last meeting. So right now, I'm going to ask that you establish the rate for the hourly election workers, which would be the absentee board members that do the processing of absentee applications with Heather in the election office. It consists of 2 bipartisan teams, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. And we ask those to be hourly because we don't know from day to day how much work is going to be there. It could be that we get to send a team home. So, and then also for the travel board, and it's the same, we don't necessarily know how much work the travel board is going to have to do. So we're asking for them to also be included in the hourly rate of $15 per hour.
And then Linda, on this letter or this email you sent me, you said also in-person early voting.
For in-person early voting,
Decide against to change that, right?
yes, they would be per diem.
So it's just the absentee processing and the travel board would be 15 an hour.
Yes.
Okay.
And the per diem for in-person early voting consists of 2 bipartisan teams. The per diem for satellite workers consists of 3 bipartisan teams. And so we are asking for the early vote, which are clerks and judges, and the clerk, and we call him Judge 2 or her Judge 2, for satellites to be $125 per day, which is what we've had in the past. And then for the team of first judge would be the ones who do the inspector duties, and they would be $175 per day.
And I know we talked a lot, and it's a lot of different things, but just to clarify, the in-person early voting is what's going on now at the courthouse.
Right.
And that goes on for an entire month, right?
Yes.
And then
28
the
days.
satellites are just the early voting satellites. We're not talking about
It's
election day.
1 week, right.
We're talking about the 1 week.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any questions for Linda? I need a motion to approve this, these salaries.
Is this something we already budgeted for?
Mhm.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, first and second, all in favor by saying aye.
A roll call.
Oh, roll call vote, please. Sorry.
Counselor Steele,
Yes.
Counselor Colt,
Yes.
Counselor Light,
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski,
Yes.
Counselor Keller. Yes. Vice President Green.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that passes.
Thank you.
And then we're on to transfers. You can stay there. You're
I'll
first.
Stay here. So I have one transfer that I am asking for you to approve, and that is, we're asking to transfer from, in the election board budget, $1,063.77 from the professional services line to, the 440 machinery and equipment line. And that is for, the, Cradle Point router hardware for our e-poll books.
Any questions?
I can tell you that with the e-poll books that we had prior to the new ones, we used Verizon for our secured spots. And when we got our new poll pads, we went under the AT&T contract that is already with the county. So we have that as our umbrella now. So the good news is our Cradle Points can be in a pinch when they're not being used for elections. If the sheriff's department needs to use them because of something that happened with one of theirs and they need one quickly, then they can use ours.
Okay, nice. Okay, any questions? If not, I need a motion. Second? Is that Culp or Steele?
Second.
Culp, okay. Do I have to roll call vote for that? Okay,
100%.
everything. Okay. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Steele. Counselor Colt,
Yes.
Counselor Liken,
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski.
Yes.
Counselor. Yes. Vice President Green,
Yes.
President North.
Yes. I think that passes.
Thank
Linda.
you.
All right, next is prosecutor.
Good evening, Council. Andrew Hanna, Chief Deputy Prosecutor. We just have one transfer this evening that is from what is our professional services line item in the rainy day fund to what was a deputy prosecutor that was a temporary deputy prosecutor to assist us during this time with the capital case. And this is just lining up those pay line items for the last, we weren't exactly sure when her last week would be. It actually worked out well. She was hired as a commissioner by the courts, so she moved over there, but this is just lining up those line items for the last pay. And then also additional, well, it's not additional appropriation as part of that transfer, but it's for the part-time line item for like a certified legal intern that will be working on this case this summer and leading into the trial, which is now set in July.
Move to approve?
First and second, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Steele.
Yes.
Colt,
Yes.
Counselor,
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski,
Yes.
Counselor Keller. Yes. Vice President Green.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you, Council.
thank you. Okay, Sheriff.
Evening, Council. John Bean, Sheriff's Department. This transfer goes back to last year. We had appropriated $6,000, but the auditor's office made us aware that that ended at the end of the year, so we have to reappropriate what's left of that $6,000 for the remainder of this year. So that's what this 487512 is.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please. Or any, and is there any comment, questions? Sorry. Okay, roll call vote.
Counselor Steele.
Yes.
Counselor Colt,
Yes.
Counselor Liken,
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski,
Yes.
Counselor Keller. Yes. Vice President Green,
Yes.
President North.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Oh, you're next.
This is, relates to the board's case on housing for him. We still have to pay DOC, even though he's not there. He's at the state hospital and going back to something, I think on that, she should have got the breakdown for our cost on that.
I had some questions about that. So this goes back all the way to 23. Have we not made any payments on this?
Not, we didn't reimburse out of our rental line, no, unless you look at the whole rental line. If we come back at the end of the year, and need more money in the rental line.
So
But it
has,
was not specifically, it was out of general fund money that you would have come back. This is coming out of the rainy day fund. Any of the monies we'd have asked for during the year, those years would have come out of general fund.
but my question is, has 23 and 24 been paid already?
We've paid it, yes.
Okay. But you're asking for it to,
Right, to go back into our rental line, and if what is left, it goes back to, you know,
so do you have a rental line in the rainy day?
no,
fund?
this is all out of the board's cost, what we've
I
had.
understand that,
Okay,
but you don't have a rental line. I can't take the money out of the rainy day
Right.
fund and put it into the general fund.
right.
Okay, so
What's it going to?
you're asking it to go to rentals,
It says housing, going to housing.
but that's not in the rainy day fund. Does that make sense? I mean,
Coming-
I could,
Well, I see, yeah, because the appropriation showed the 380 line. And on the docket here, it shows 33,700. Okay, that's the main line number. That goes back to housing of 380.
I mean, it appears to me that you're trying to take it out of rainy day. I don't know if I have. And put it into the general fund for your
Is that the
housing.
general fund? I don't have my whole sheet, a list of,
Let me see if I can find my rainy day. Oh, there it is. Oh, awesome. Okay. So all you have in rainy day is 500,000 for overtime and 500,000 for professional services. So to transfer money now, I can't transfer money from
so it has to
the
be
rainy.
renamed something else.
Well, I
then.
mean, I can't take money out of the rainy day fund and put it into the general fund. Does that make sense?
Right,
I can either pay it out of the rainy day fund up front, or I can pay it out of the general fund, but I can't transfer money from one to the other.
so is it a matter of the wrong line?
No, you're wanting to so I take it you're wanting to replenish money that's already been spent? Is that what we're doing?
Yes,
The rentals has its specific line.
You're looking at the general fund.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm confused as well.
I'm just going off the lines that are showing here, the 37,000 line, and deep,
Yeah.
the
The 37,000 line for this year has our rentals. We have a budget for that already established in this year's budget. If 23, 24, and 25 have already been paid, then the remaining, whatever that number is.
26, what's in 26?
What's in 26
Yeah.
would be due,
Okay.
which would come out of the general fund rentals budget.
right. So you're saying we can't reimburse back to the general fund line
Correct.
out of,
The general fund line is for 2026. It's
Right.
not, this doesn't have anything to do with what
Okay.
happened with 23 to 25.
all right,
So we could reimburse for the capital case, we talked about reimbursing out of the rainy day fund.
right.
We could do that for 2026 rentals and pay the
I see.
rentals out.
Okay. So you want to come back, we can do it later in the year instead of do it now or waiting as we get closer later in the year and do that.
So the only thing that only other question I have is, I know that the state reimburses us for some of the funds for the capital case, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so would they be reimbursing us for that rental portion?
I don't know how it's broken down.
Okay, well, I don't either, because I've never done a capital case before. So, do you know the answer to my question? Okay,
Of the public defender costs associated to the county are not reimbursed by the state.
Oh, only the public defender. Oh,
So we're paying the costs of the case out of the rainy
Rainy
day
day
fund,
fund.
except for that 50% you just
Well, I
described.
think you're paying it out of the rainy day fund
Yes.
and then it's getting reimbursed
To the
back to the county general.
okay. So the only thing that you could do, John, is you could, the money that is for, if the other stuff's been paid, that's done, okay?
Okay.
So 26, if that's gonna be a hardship on that line item for housing, then we could pay it out of the rainy day fund. Okay, but we'd have to make an appropriation in there, and we haven't done that
Okay.
for that.
For that, because we just had the overtime and the other items that's listed in that.
Yeah, we
Professional
just,
services.
overtime and professional
Professional
services,
services.
yes.
Okay.
So like what I
Well,
would
and
probably.
I would withdraw then because it for $1,900 didn't have to come back in later in the year once we would just do it all at that same
I
time.
just wait till the
That makes
end.
the most sense.
Yeah.
And what we probably would rather do, I think, is see where we're at in the rainy day fund with what we've already
Okay.
appropriated and maybe do a transfer and create a third line item and transfer maybe some money out of one of those two line items into the.
Yeah,
third one.
instead of just doing it now and have to come back later in the year once we get deeper into the trial and housing and all that here. So I'll withdraw that request then.
All right, thank you. All right, so that was that.
Ready for me?
Go
Okay.
ahead. Yes, sorry.
Good evening, council. Judge Angela Sims. I wanted to take a moment, if I could, for the council tonight before I go into my specific request to give the council a little bit of an update. The last time I stood before the council when it dealt with the jail project and the opioid treatment funds, that was back in November when the council gave its overall support to us continuing forward with this project. So just wanted to bring the council a little bit up to speed on some things that have been happening since November of last year. Our group of stakeholders have continued to meet regularly pretty much every month. The expansion 2 of the jail has begun as far as the process, working with the commissioners and making headway, and things have been ordered and moving forward, and been told possibly that could be completed sometime in early 2027 if things stay on track. So that seems to be moving along without too many issues at this point in time. The other piece is we've created another subcommittee to continue to talk about the jail treatment program, which is obviously, as I stood before you in November, the real driving force behind a lot of the changes that have been proposed in our criminal justice system. And so with that is in part the proposal or the appropriation request that I make before you tonight. But the jail treatment team has continued to meet and really making some good inroads, and we're ready to put some pieces in place in the current jail with the understanding of it just being a little bit of a kind of a warm-up period to start navigating as to how that's all going to work once the transition is made into the new jail. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment if you have questions. The other piece is what's really now started to be undertaken is the restructuring and the remodeling potentially of the MCCPSC, the work release facility, the community corrections campus, which is again a part of the project that kind of flows from the treatment and the jail expansion. So I believe the commissioners have retained Mr. Weflin and his company to begin that process to determine what type of costs and what types of things would be needed to achieve what we ultimately would like to see those facilities be transformed into to continue to support the treatment and the additional supervision pieces that we've proposed for the criminal justice system. So pleased to tell you that I think we're continuing to move forward, and things seem to be going well overall. I guess I'll make no secret about it. This next piece could be an expensive piece, but we're still really just trying to figure out what needs to be done there, what that's going to look like, and what other options that might be available to us as we continue to kind of traverse that new land there. And happy to take any questions on that, but I'll kind of conclude with my request and then we can maybe move back from there. On the jail treatment piece though, so we then, as a part of our group, appeared before the commissioners at their last meeting with the help of the county attorney, Jeff Graham. We passed the ordinance to allow us then to begin to appropriate the opioid settlement monies that currently are being held by the county. That was approved by the commissioners. We also then presented to the commissioners the same appropriation request that you have before you tonight with respect to the specific positions that we're creating within that budget and the amounts that we're requesting that the council give final approval for appropriation out of the opioid settlement funds. And so as you see there from the request, one is that we have created a jail navigator position, which would be a salary at $50,000 a year. Again, that would be an individual that would be employed within the jail. And that is the person that, given the title, navigates basically inmates that come into the jail facility through assessment processes and different screening tools that would be utilized to determine what types of treatment services would be appropriate for them while they're being held at the jail during their pretrial or maybe even post-sentence or sanction incarceration. That also is a position at some point that develops and continues to network with outside resources as well. So when people know that they're going to be leaving the jail at some point in time, to connect them again with community resources and things to continue to support whatever's been happening in the jail and make sure that they can continue with that path of treatment and support or whatever else they need. So that is what's kind of the purpose in that position that would entail for that appropriation request. The other three positions are the peer recovery coaches, which have been employed through the health department for a period of time, but due to some other funding issues with the health department, they've not been able to sustain that. We've taken them under our umbrella as our peer recovery coaches are going to play a really vital part of this treatment program. Those are individuals that currently are in our jail, connecting people to treatment services, both within the jail and outside of the jail, and will continue to help us navigate that as well as we move forward with those treatment services. So those are the requests for those three coaches to be for appropriations for those respective salaries. That includes then the FICA and retirement and group insurance that is associated with those positions as well. The other services category is the mental health professional that we intend to hire within the jail. I think as I mentioned in the November meeting that the funding, what little funding was already being provided to the jail through a grant funding for mental health services expired at the end of 2025. And I can at least attest from the position that I hold, it's a really critical situation that we're facing at the jail right now, with very little, if any, mental health services being able to be provided within the jail. So we have worked with the jail. They are working with their current medical contractor to be able to hire that person, and it would be invoiced then to this particular account for $150,000 salary a year. Those are the items that I'm asking then that be appropriated from the restricted portions of the opioid settlement money. You may be familiar, there is a restricted portion and there is an unrestricted portion of settlement funds that the county has received and will continue to receive over the duration of those payments. These are all items that fall squarely and fully within the restricted purposes for which those funds are intended to be used for. The second part is the $5,000 that's being requested for appropriation out of the unrestricted funds. We've not really determined exactly, but we wanted to make a small portion to be appropriated there in the event through the setup of the jail navigator or some of these other individuals, whether they may need a laptop or maybe a desk at the jail or wherever we're going to station some of these folks, just for those types of support services or supplies, if you will, if they need them, but we're kind of developing that as we go. So that's the request out of the unrestricted portion at this time. So that might be a lot I've given you, but I want to give you a little bit of an update. And then those are the reasons that we're requesting that we have appropriation then from that settlement fund to make these things start to happen and move forward for us.
Can you remind us, we've taken, what, 3 or 4 years of settlement funds?
To 2038 is when the payments will continue. Obviously, they lessen or depreciate over the time, but yes.
For these positions that would be hired now, or these?
Yes. Yes.
But this is an annual salary, so it'd be prorated. It wouldn't be the
Correct.
full amount since.
Not for the remainder of this year. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you a few questions?
Sure.
I haven't.
Just about the opioid funds, I'm just trying to understand. So we started receiving payments in 2022.
That sounds about right.
Have we've not spent any of that?
No.
No, we
So
haven't spent
in
any.
the report you sent, I think it's Fund 1238. for the 1237 for the restricted funds has a balance of 190,000 and change, but this appropriation's for 420,000.
Both the 1237 and the 1238 have funds that are invested. So I think there was $1.3 million, I think is the total of the funds that are invested between those two funds. So you won't see those on your cash balance, just like on your rainy day fund, you probably show $1 million or so in your cash balance, but there's about 18 million, so 17 million of it resides in CDs, so it doesn't show up on that cash ledger. So that's why that money doesn't show. But
So
Yeah,
we're
I-
okay to make an appropriation
Yes.
for
Yes.
more than what's in the actual fund.
yes, the only thing we'll need to do is see what kind of investment the treasurer has it in and make sure it's liquid, so we could go ahead and start spending it. You're welcome.
Councilman Grabowski, I can assure you, I would not stand before this council tonight unless I had already checked all those things out. Yes, we took a portion of the settlement funds and we put them in short-term CDs, as the auditor indicated, so we could again accrue some additional interest. That would be additional money that could be used. So yes, we've ran through all those numbers, and all these numbers were vetted at our last meeting with and in conjunction with the auditor to make sure that we were good to go with the liquid cash that we have available, and we will continue to receive payments for the remainder of this year as well.
Well, and I am 100% supportive of this project and doing this. It's just we've been talking about trying to cut personnel, and now we're looking at well, it's not really 4 additional, is it? Because you said 3 of these positions are already in the health department. Is that correct?
The peer recovery coaches have worked under the umbrella of the health department for some time.
And
Are those people currently employed by the health department and then it's gonna be moved over?
They'll still be
Different funding?
they'll still be employed by the health department, but they'll be paid out of the opioid settlement funds for the time being.
But they're not, so the employees have already been hired, you already know who's gonna be in this position, and it's just moving them for the funding?
Yes, those have been 3 spots that have been employed or have employees, yes, for several years.
And then, are those peer recovery coaches gonna be working both inside the jail and at the health department, or are they gonna be completely inside the jail?
No, they'll be both as they currently do now. They don't work inside the jail. They meet with offenders inside the jail to conduct assessments and to develop a treatment plan. And then they come to the respective courts on their criminal court days and report to the courts and attorneys whether or not they're appropriate for inpatient treatment services or other types of community-based services. And oftentimes are made a part of the court order as to what the offender is supposed to do.
I was just looking for that clarity about the continuity of care, that they be the same people.
Yes.
Meeting with the offenders, when they're incarcerated, and the same people meeting with them once they're released.
Yes, and many of the offenders are ordered to connect with the health department upon their release from the jail with that exact purpose in mind, to continue with the continuity of care. And through the jail treatment program, that'll only be bolstered as to how we continue that continuous care outside of the jail.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I want to applaud and tell everyone responsible for all the investing and all the ideas, thank you, because that's exactly what this money's for. That's what got so many people in the condition in which they're in, and I'm very thankful that you're doing this. So I make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Roll call vote, please.
I just had
Oh,
another-
sorry.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
okay.
Transfer both
That's okay.
both opioid funds. yeah,
Restricted.
37.8.
Yes, but Christy had a question yet.
Well, my only concern is long-term. I know that these funds are paid out through 2038,
Correct.
another 17 years. And as you alluded to, those decrease over time. How are we going to continue to fund that as those payments decrease? Because we're talking, this is a $420,000 appropriation. And by 2038, that restricted fund contribution is like 120,000.
I think some of our hope is that with investing these funds, we're going to be able to generate some revenue from the interest on that, which will help us extend possibly the life of these funds. And of course, it's always going to be a consideration at that point to reevaluate where we're at, as a county financially, whether or not we can afford to keep them on or how we're going to do that.
I just, with us meeting with Reedy and getting a better forecast, because we feel like we've got this perfect storm coming until we know, but with the revenue drops that we're expecting in the county.
But
and the cuts that we're looking at for the rest of,
I just want to say that
departments.
this money here can only be spent on specific things. It can never come over to the general
right,
fund.
right.
So whatever really information we get from them as far as our general fund goes, it's kind of a different category than this.
Right, but if we can't pay for these, once this money runs out, or if it can't be paid for anymore, then it's gonna come from the general fund.
I don't know how we can even cross that bridge yet, because that's 12 years away to know even what that's gonna look like. You know what I'm saying? Do I think there's gonna be changes in the next 12 years as far as the legislation again? Absolutely. We're gonna have new challenges that we're gonna have to face, and even the information that we're gonna get at the end of the month from Reedy is not gonna be applicable 12 years from now.
I'll just speak to that just a moment. Christie, we've had this conversation actually as part of a small group meeting about this, and I think there's a clear recognition that there's a fairly secure 8 to 10 year window of being able to provide services, but we really don't know beyond that. But one of the critical pieces of this, and I guess this, to me, this is one of the most important things, and Judge alluded to it, but and that is that if in the data that's been demonstrated in other places where this has been done, the ability to create continuity from incarceration to being placed back into the community with follow-up has decreased or recidivism by 50% or more. And so the cost savings as a consequence to the implementation of these services has been found to be fairly significant. And so I guess what I'm hoping, and when I think about our general budget and how much goes into public safety, which is a lot, from the courts and the prosecutor's office and the sheriff's department and the jail and all of it, probation services, et cetera. I'm really hoping that we'll see, and we're actually putting into place a data tracking mechanism to be able to follow it, to be able to see what not just recidivism rate drops might occur, which of course is good for the community and for the county, but also cost savings. So I think that's an important, trying to create a scenario in which there's a win all the way around. It seems like those opportunities are rare to come by. This feels like one of those. So anyway, I don't know if that addresses your concern, but I think it's.
Yeah, I think the committee and the group is well aware of that, but I think at this point, and for a lot of the reasons I stood before this body in November, it's a risk worth taking in this community at this point. Obviously, we'll have to see what kind of results we get, and I would be the first to say if it doesn't have the results or the impact that we intend for it to have, then yeah, we probably need to come back to the table and figure something else out. But my hope would be that it does have significant impact in so many different areas that there will be cost savings that come back to us multiple folds, I would hope. And at some point, it still may be a position worth figuring out how you sustain it if it's had that level of success in 12 or 13 years from now. So that's
Also, we don't often seem to mind giving money for the public safety to take care of these once they've gotten to the worst. Seems like we just give that money out with not a lot of thought. But now let's put this money, so maybe, just maybe, we won't have to, and that will reduce. So there's been a motion and a second. Point of order, please.
So if there's no other further discussion, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, we're appropriating the funds that she asked for in the restricted and unrestricted. To approve the opioid fund, yes, and the restricted and non-restricted.
Vice President Green,
Yes.
President North.
Yes. All right, thank you.
And I think I'm your next item too.
Oh.
On behalf of the Madison County Problem Solving Courts, I'm before you tonight, then requesting appropriation from our MCPSC grant, which funds a lot of our alumni programs for our participants in the program. And those are outlined in the request. It was a total of $2,000. that we're asking to be appropriated in these respective line items for different events that we hold in the community throughout the year for our participants and our alumni from the program.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Steele?
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Liken?
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski?
Yes.
Counselor
Yes.
President Norick?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew Hanna, Chief Deputy Prosecutor, again, counsel, we're asking for an increase in our supplemental deputy line item and our pretrial diversion fund, again, not a tax line item. We had requested an increase in this line item in our budget. What, from my understanding, it was that it was administratively moved down. We have plenty of funds in another supplemental fund for this request. However, to accomplish it that way would require changing of caseloads and some administrative aspects to that. So it'd be the easiest way for us to just request this out of our 2501 account. And that's what I'm doing now.
Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any-
Sorry.
Any discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Steele? Counselor? Counselor Liken?
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski?
Yes.
President Green?
Yes.
President Norick?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
I got the next one too. We are asking to appropriate the Edward Byrne Memorial JAG grant. This is just a continuation of a previous grant that we received due to the partial, well, at times the government shutdown and partial government shutdown. What they did was just issue a continuation of that grant as opposed to reopening it. And so we are asking to appropriate those funds. Those are $59,505 to other services and charges, which is to pay for, if you just give me 1 second here, our Celebrite license, which is the license for the software that reads cell phone extractions, puts them into a, because that cell phone extractions really just pull out the ones and zeros. Celebrite is the software that we use to, put those ones and zeros back into a readable format. And so that's how we do cell phone extractions. And that's Celebrite, which is basically the entire amount of that for our yearly license. And then the machinery and equipment is $3,400 for laptops and monitors related to Celebrite. Any questions?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, any other discussion? Then roll call vote, please.
Yes. Yes.
Counselor Liken?
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski?
Yes.
Counselor Keller? Counselor Keller?
I think she's frozen. That looks like a yes to me, I think.
She's smiling, so that must be yes.
Count that as an extension.
Okay.
Vice President Green?
Yes.
President Norick?
Yes. Okay, that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come on, Bethany, come back to us. Okay, next is the sheriff. A new money request.
Yes, council, this is the Marshal Service reimbursed. We submit overtime invoices to the Marshal Service for our task force officer that's assigned to the task force, and then they reimburse back to the general funds. We're just asking for that $10,158 to come back to our overtime line.
So that's already been received by the county.
I have a question, may I?
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand and I can do it, but I do think we mentioned something at the beginning about new money and October. I don't know. I know this is a little different because it's not exactly a new money request. I get it's a reimbursement. However, my only thought would be is if you were given more money for the overtime, then because you need more money to overtime, now this is a reimbursement. So I don't see why it couldn't be in the general fund until at some point you may need it and could request it later on. I just didn't know if it set a bad precedent to already be getting into general fund money requests when we said we weren't going to. Just a thought. I do understand it's a reimbursement.
Well, with other departments, when they get reimbursement, we give it back to them and not put it back in the general fund.
Okay, but many times they haven't been given additional monies to do it.
Right.
That would be,
Mhm.
that
I'm
would
just
be
saying
my
for
only thought.
consistency's sake.
Please, we all just need to remember that.
Mhm.
That's fine. I can go with it. I just wanted to raise the question.
Any other discussion?
Is there a motion on the table yet?
Not yet.
Yeah.
We have a partial motion.
Oh, I made a motion.
There's
We
no
have we
second.
have a first, but we don't have a second.
Bethany, was that a motion? Bethany?
It was a motion, yes.
Okay.
So you can second the motion. Christie made the motion. Do we have any other discussion then? Could you hear what Councilwoman Diana Likens said? Could you hear that, Christie? Christie, Bethany? Oh, my goodness.
She heard it. It's,
Oh, she's froze again.
Oh, my.
It's on, she's got it.
Well, she seconded the motion.
She
so-
seconded.
Yeah, she
We're
seconded
good.
it. Okay, so if there's no other further discussion, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Counselor Colt?
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
We're gonna assume that's a yes, since she, well, not necessarily. I guess we
Vice
should.
President Green?
Yes.
President Nort?
Yes,
We're gonna count it as
Thank you, council.
an abstention.
okay. Poor Bethany.
Doing the best.
Bethany says apparently we need to appropriate money for better technology.
Oh,
It's
did
on the
she
next
say
agenda.
that?
Back one more time, council. This is just asking to reimburse, to reappropriate a reimbursement that we had to IPAC scholarships. The Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Council provided us scholarships to send two of our deputy prosecutors to a homicide conference training in New Orleans. And so this is just reappropriating that reimbursement, which the county received.
Do I have a motion
I make a motion to approve.
and a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion?
Excuse
No.
me. These are public hearing items.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I forgot to.
Okay.
You
Is
have a
there any
comment?
comment from the, is there
Don't
any
have any comment.
comment from the audience? Okay, sorry, I apologize. No, just on this topic. I apologize. I should
can
have done
talk
it with
about
the
it,
last
David, if
one
you
too,
want.
and I didn't. Okay, so we have a first and a second. Any other discussion from the council? Okay, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Steele?
We did. We just did that.
Good.
No editorial comments.
Counselor Colt?
Yes.
Counselor Liken?
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
Convenient timing. Yeah.
Yes.
President Nort?
Yes.
Abstention.
So I just want to say that this is something that we probably need to have some conversation on about how we're going to deal with reimbursements back. You know, some of these things they might not have done, except for the fact that they're getting a reimbursement on it. And so we need to keep that into consideration.
I think in the past, what we've done, Todd had, or the auditor at the time, had estimated we're gonna get $10,000 in something for the, one time with gun permits, they used to keep. Then he has a car wrecked and he pays for it and then he gets reimbursed. That's exception. I think when we go beyond what we plan to get back, I think we should. It becomes, I think it can become a they have to then account for, I got this reimbursement and that, and this and that, and how much did Todd budget for that? And once I get over that, then I can ask for it, it becomes an accounting matter. Anybody can request it at any time. I think exceptions to ask Todd ahead of time. Rick, is this something above what we estimated in our? Because we'll forget what happens in October. We'll be back in April.
Yeah,
I
you're right.
will. I forgot what happened 30 seconds ago.
Obviously. Okay, moving on. Mr. Harless.
Good evening, Council. Scott Harless, Highway Superintendent. This money I'm asking for was one of the other funds I told you about a couple months ago when I was in here, when they engineered the highway split up a little bit. They put in the money for their pipe, but not mine. So I'm coming back to get the $125,000 that we can do our own pipe work with. So the money's already sitting there in the fund. It just didn't get appropriated.
Do I have a motion
I make a motion.
and a
Sorry.
second? Okay, any discussion? I don't have to do public comment because it's, I
Public
do for
hearing
that
on
one
this
too?
Yep.
Oh.
Tax fund. It's a tax rate fund.
Yeah, I know that. I was just seeing if you all knew that. Is there anybody in the audience that has any comments or concerns? Please state your name for the record.
My name is Mike Garinger and I live in Adams Township. And I just want to express I think it's an important item to keep inventory of when it comes to piping, because piping isn't cheap anymore. It's quite expensive. And you want to keep track of it and where it's at so that when you're doing managerial accounting and budgeting, it'd be easier, for example, the drainage board to be able to go and see that X pipe is sitting at X location and we bought it at this amount of money. And so you know where it's at when you're starting to take your appropriation requests, because I'd hate to see some of those be left on site, or things on construction sites happen. You leave it on site and somebody comes along and picks it up and takes it with them. You should be aware of that so you can cover it on insurance and things. Thanks.
Any further conversation from the council? Okay, we had a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Steele?
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Webb?
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski? Yes. Counselor Keller? Abstain.
Oh, she's back.
Was that an abstain?
That was an abstain, yes.
Abstain. Vice President Green?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have. I think I threw all these, right? I think so. Okay, we are to some salary ordinances. Our first one is, did I get everything right? I did everything right. Well, let's see, prosecutor, okay. I'm trying to find which one that is. Okay, so this is salaries from the rainy day fund for the prosecutor. Yes, it does say prosecutor right there. And also the pretrial diversion fund. Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval? Okay, do I have a second? Okay, Dr. Green, and can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Counselor Liken?
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski?
Yes.
Counselor Keller? Vice President Green?
Yes.
Yes. I know we have a problem because I need to, can you hear us, Bethany?
I can now.
Okay, we were just taking,
Having lots of technical difficulties.
sorry, we were just taking a vote on the salary ordinance 2026 4C. You're the only one we couldn't hear your yes or no on that one.
Yes, I would like to vote
All right, thank you.
Poor Alexa.
That's all right. Okay, the next one is salary ordinance 2026 4D. This is for the Sex Offender Registry Supplement Fund 1192 and the General Fund 1000. Do I have a motion for approval?
I make
Okay, so that was Christie, and do I have a second?
second.
Diana. Can we have roll call vote, please?
Yes.
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 Yes, okay, that passes. And the next one is salary ordinance 2026 4E, the opioid restricted fund 1237. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, first and second. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, all those passed tonight. All right, let's see, here where we at? Public comment. Okay, so the first person I have is Mr. Sargent.
Good afternoon, David Sargent, Anderson, Indiana. Glad to have Scott Green back. And the one question I had was on the Reedy Group meeting on April the 29th from 1 to 4. Is that public or executive session?
That's an executive session.
Okay, so I can't come. Darn it.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Mr. Geringer.
Thank you for hearing me. Mike Garinger, Adams Township. I would like to speak to, I'd like to commend you in the fairness and the appearance of fairness for publicly listing appointments, and people are able to see that you're going to make appointments and apply for them. I think that is a terrific procedural move. And along with that, I think I don't not only speak for myself, but I think if someone is to be appointed, that they should be present to receive the appointment. I think it gives a really good appearance of integrity. I also think it's important that if anyone comes to request appropriation, or if there is an appropriation request, that that person is present also. It just sets some rules that you got to be there to receive, and you got to be there, right? That way there's no imagination of where things are, why people are being appointed and where it's coming from. Also, then I want to go to money itemization. From what I saw when the initial appropriations at the beginning of the year, there was some miscellaneous categories and some other categories, and those are really hard to keep track of in managerial accounting and budgeting. And I know you guys just purchased some new software so you can get an idea of where the budgets are landing. I think at the beginning of the year, about 80% was in other and miscellaneous. And then in this one with new money, it was down to 54%. So there's a great improvement. So there's some action there, right? But I think there's some more opportunity to get better in itemizing. And I'm not picking on anyone, but for example, in the prosecutor's office, they asked an appropriation for some software, and it's listed in other and miscellaneous. I'm no expert on your cost center numbers or anything like that, but I think it should be listed as software. That way, you know, you're buying either software assets or actual material hands-on assets, or if you're buying human resource assets whenever you are figuring out your budgets. And then the final thing I want to speak to is more of a social, cultural thing. And I think it's just human nature for people to get caught up in the details. What I'm speaking about on this is the treatment at the prison, and those programs for opioid and also psychological treatments. And I think I'm the first person that will ask you, is there any proactive programs? Does somebody have to commit a crime in order to receive treatment that they need, instead of a reactive movement? In other words, there are people that are out there on the street that need help, and are they able to get the help they need, or are they going to catch wind that they got to commit a crime to get the kind of help they need? I hope I've been clear with that, and I thank you for listening.
Mr. Kane.
To address that issue, sir, while Mr. Kane comes up, there are a number of outpatient services provided through places like Aspire and the Anderson Center, and it's what some of us do every day. So there's a hope of trying to do that long before someone commits a crime. But in the event that a crime is committed, that's where actually some of the need is most acute and where there haven't been services provided.
I see a great opportunity for a focus group and feasibility study to just promote it, public service announcement, and put it out there ahead of time.
Evening, Council. I'm going to just ask you to kind of revisit your topic of appointments. There's talk of Ds and Rs, but there are independents out there who are just as interested in serving as anyone else. And so the question for you is what's an independent? How's it defined? And is there such a thing as qualifying if the language only says Ds and Rs? Then how do you get qualified to be that independent appointment? So something for you to think about as you move forward in that topic. Thank you.
Mr. Clutter, do you remember, I mean, I looked at the statute today and I can't remember what it said about independent. Did it say
It just
anything?
says must be affiliated with different political parties. So it's not necessarily it just says different political parties.
Political parties.
I did say DNR. I did say that.
And, yeah, you could be a registered independent. You could be a Green Party member. There's a lot of different permutations there. The traditional is a DNR, but yeah.
I don't know that the statute really addresses it much.
It doesn't, and it doesn't define what affiliated means either, whether you have to be registered, you have to have voted that way in prior primary, and how many there's a lot of room for interpretation.
Yeah. All right, the last one is Ken Kaczynski.
Hello, friends. On your, Jody, what you brought up about the terms for the board wouldn't be 100% correct. So
I know, I saw that.
okay. I have researched this because I do have a person on the board that I appoint. I have concerns with the boards. I have huge concerns, and I've sat on boards in this county and not lived in the county, but the board I sat on, I've had a lot of experience at it. So that's why they put me on the board years ago on the PROSECUTOR board. But in the Parks board, I'm just concerned that the commissioners have 2 picks. You have a person that you put on for 2, or commissioners and yourself, the council. You guys have one person you put on for 4 years, one person you put on for 2 years. So that's 2 and 2, and then I put on 1. Mine's 1 year. Each year stands by itself, because if I put somebody on for 4 years, and this is the reason why they drafted it in the ordinance last year, was if that person did not work out, and I did remove one off the board because the person didn't have the same views that I did in some things, that I would be hand-tied for 4 years. So my pick would have been the previous surveyor at that point, and then I would have changed 4 years later. That's why I'm just 1 year. Every year I can change if I don't see that person going in the direction. But come July, there's a new House bill coming out that we can remove a person off the board, on Parks board, at will. That will be coming in July. I can't remember. It's House Bill 1005. Maybe that's it. You might want to look at that. The reasons why this board the Parks has been so important to me is all the calls we get. There has not been one person on that Parks board that lived in that area. Not one. None of us. I put a person on the board because she lives down there. Who would know better than the people that live there? And if you drive 8th Street, you've seen how many signs that they didn't want the Parks board. That board has spent $1.3 million, a little bit over $1.3 million. I went to the Parks board meeting in March. Didn't get any answers about how they spent the money. I'm coming to you guys, and I'm not trying to get into your lane. I'm just saying, I think that we need to hold boards accountable, and I think they need to come back to the people that put them on there and give some updates of where you're at and ask some tough questions. I don't know. I wasn't aware of it. Those aren't the answers, especially if they're steward of that kind of money. So I'm just giving you a heads up. I've changed my person. I think that person will ask some tough questions, and they have to. I think we need to put people on there who will challenge status quo. And at this point, we are asking those tough questions. I heard a lot of rumors when certain people were no longer with the county. What concerns me is that a park board has more authority than you and the commissioners if it keeps going the way it is, meaning that they could take somebody's property. The commissioners would not have a say in it at all. That was trying to get changed just in this House bill this year, but it got watered down somewhat. But the point is, I'm just trying to make is I'm holding my person accountable. And I think that the county needs to start doing that going forward. Being on a board is not a fluff job. I think it's a big responsibility. I think you take it and you make the best of it. You make the best decisions for the people that live in this community. And when we can't represent the people that live in this community because they don't live in that area, I think we've done an injustice. Just my humble opinion. But there's the statute that passed the ordinance, so you know. And you can carry them over until you replace them. It doesn't matter what time you replace them at that point. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so that's our public comment. Now, we're to budget discussions, and I just kind of wanted to say that I really would like to hold off any discussion tonight about the budget for the most part, because I really want to get the information from Reedy in a couple weeks. I think it'll give us a little bit better focus about where we're going and heading. So that's just my 2 cents, unless y'all want to have discussion. Okay. Bethany, I didn't know, did you say you were going to be able to be there for the Reedy group thing?
I don't know yet. I fractured my fibula, and I go to see an orthopedic doctor on Friday, so I don't know if I'm going to have surgery or a cast or what we're looking at here. So I can't give you a definite answer until after that.
Okay, well, Mr. Clutter is going to be calling in, and if that's something that you need to do, we definitely can facilitate that easily. We don't have to have video. So, all right, with that is,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second? I got a second from Dr. Green. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All
Do I need
opposed?
a roll call?
Yeah.